This is a CS Plus production brought to you by Baldwin Wallace University.
Hi everybody, this is Sydney with the CS Plus program at Baldwin Wallace University. Today I'll be teaching you how to build a web page using HTML and CSS, and we'll also get into some JavaScript. So first thing we'll want to do is to create our file to put our code in. So open up a text editor on your computer. I'm using something called Notepad QQ. You might have a program called Notepad. So let's start by typing something into our text editor. Do hello world. And then let's save it somewhere where you can access it again later. So I'm going to save mine on my desktop. And we're going to name it. So I'll name mine my web page. And make sure you do .html at the end. Hit save. And now we're going to open our web page. So go to where you saved it. Here's mine on my desktop. And right click, and we're going to open with our web browser. Here it comes right up for me, but you might need to hit open with other application. And here you see your text that you typed in is right here. And so we're learning HTML right now. And HTML is important because it's basically the foundation of how internet websites are made. So if you go to a website, so I'm going to hit a new tab button, and you can inspect the element. So right click the background and inspect element. This is the code that makes the website, so it makes a functionality so you can search, and it also makes it look like how it does. And here's the code that does it, and you can see it's HTML. Okay, so now let's code. So delete what you had. And we'll start by telling our file that we're doing HTML coding. So we're going to do what's called a tag. And we'll start with an HTML tag at the top. So the caret, HTML on the closing caret. And then we're going to hit enter and make sure we're lined up, and we're going to do a closing tag. So we're going to do a caret and then a slash and HTML. So that's saying that's the end of the HTML. So now in between these tags, we're going to do a head tag. So enter and slash head. So what the slash head tag says is we're working up here where this tab is. So right now our head says wherever you saved your file at. That's pretty boring. So let's start with a different title. So we're going to do a title tag. And so you can name yours whatever you want. I'll name mine Sydney's web page. And closing title. And underneath the head, we'll do a body tag. And so what the body tag says is we're going to be working right here in the body of the web page. And we'll do a div tag, which stands for division, and it's basically just going to divide our code up so we know where we're working. Make sure to close it. And then we're going to do an h1 tag, which stands for a header. And the number represents how big the header will be. So 1 is the biggest, and you can do 2 for a smaller one, or 3. Do h1. And then we'll just put the same thing we have for our title. And then close that. And then make sure you have all your closing tags. So we have the div, body, and HTML, so we should be good. So you can press Ctrl S to save if you're on Windows, or your program will likely have a save button here as well. Looks like that. Or you can also go to File, Save. Okay, so now go to your web browser and click it so it's selected, and then we're going to hit the refresh button. And if you don't see one, you could also hit F5 if you're on Windows. And so now you see that our title is here, and that also our header for our web page is here. So now we're going to organize things a little bit for later. So we are going to name our div. So we're going to give it an ID. So div ID equals quotation mark main content quotation. And then we'll name our title. So we're going to do ID equals title. And below this, we can do another header to put some more content. So we'll do H2 to show it's a smaller one. We can do about my site /H2. And then we're going to do a paragraph tag, which is just a P, which basically just represents some text. So you can write whatever you want. What I'm going to write is, I enjoy learning new things and seeing what things I can create. And then close that paragraph tag. Then we'll add one more section. Let's do another H2 tag. And we can do things I learned recently. And close that. So now we'll make a list. And so you can do a UL tag, which stands for unordered list. So then we're going to put some list items, so we need an LI tag. And we can start HTML /LI. Do CSS. And we can do JavaScript. And make sure to close your unordered list. Oops, you will. And now save. And click back on your website and refresh, and your text should come up. So now we can start with the CSS. So we're going to style our web page. What CSS stands for is Cascading Style Sheet. So let's first give our page some background color. So in the header, up here, and go below title, and we're going to put a style tag. This tells our page that we are starting with CSS, and close the style tag. So in between there, we'll tell the page that we're going to be changing the body of the website. So just type body and do a curly bracket and close it. And in between the curly brackets, we'll change the background color. So we'll type background-color RGB, which stands for red, green, blue, and it's a way to say what color we're using. So we're going to change the red value, the green value, and the blue value. So we'll start with 50, 50, 80. And then a semicolon at the end. So save, and let's see if our background color changed. So now our background's a nice purple-blue color, but our font's a bit dark. It's kind of hard to read. So let's change the color of our font. So underneath background color, we're just going to do color. And that tells the page we're changing the font color. So let's do RGB. And we'll try 200, 200, 200. And a semicolon. So now save. And now you can see our font's a nice gray color and you can read it a bit better. And make sure you save your web page before you try to refresh your other side, or else it won't show up. And we can also play with what font we use. So underneath, we can do font-family, and make sure there's no space with the dash. And then colon, and we'll try this font. Semicolon. Save. Refresh. A bit nicer. And also, if you see our headers look like they're bold, we may not want that. So let's change it so they don't look like they're bold anymore. So underneath the body closing curly bracket, we can change the headers, what the header font looks like. So let's do H1, comma, H2. So that's going to change both of them at once. Another curly bracket, and close. And we can do font weight colon lighter. Make sure to end it with a semicolon and refresh. And now it doesn't look like it's bold anymore. So now we can make some spacing for our content. So in style, we're going to go underneath our curly bracket for our headers. And here we named our div ID, and you see that we named it main content. So now in the CSS, we can go back and reference that, and we'll only change the things that are in the main content ID. So we're going to do the number symbol here, main content, another curly bracket. And now we'll be doing some CSS, but there's going to be a lot to type before we can see any difference. So what we're doing is we're going to make a little box. So everything in main content, so all this text, it can be in its own little box. So first let's change the width of our box. So width colon 80%. So that's going to make our box a bit smaller than it would be default. And go margin, auto. So that's going to center the box on the page. Padding, 10px, which stands for 10 pixels. And that's going to put some padding on the top. So like right here you see there's some space. We're going to put our space for our eventual box to be 10 pixels. And then we can do min dash height. 100%. And so that's going to be good for when we're resizing our page. And we can do border dash left. So this will be the word solid space 1px, 1 pixel, RGB 000. And a semicolon. So what this is doing, it's going to put a left border on our box, and it will be a solid 1 pixel black border. And it's black because all these values are 0, so we're not giving it any red, green, or blue colors. And we'll do the same thing for a border on the right. So solid 1px, RGB 000. We can also give our box a different background color than what the website has. Make things a bit more interesting. So background color, RGBA. So what the A stands for is alpha. It'll basically make it a bit see-through. So we can do 50, 50, 80, the same. But we're going to have an alpha value of 0.9. It'll make it look a bit cooler. So let's save this and see how it changes. So it didn't change too much yet. We have our borders, you can see, and it changed our location. If you resize the page, you see that it goes with the page. Alright, now let's change our background so we can see that our box is transparent a bit better. So we're going to get rid of the current body's background color. And then underneath here, we're going to add a URL to a picture. So we can do background, just say URL. And so now we're going to type in a tiny URL that I created. It's just, it just points to an Imager link, so it's safe and there's no worries or anything with it. So let's do https://tinyurl.com/cs+-bg for background. I'm going to save. Let's refresh. Now you see we have a sky. And if you look, you can sort of see behind the sky, you can see the clouds behind the box, so it's a bit transparent. Alright, now let's change up a little bit with our headers again. So here in our headers, let's add some more spacing. So first we're going to do border bottom. So we're going to do 1 pixel solid RGB 200, 200, 200. So we're just going to add a little line underneath. And line height, two. So let's save. We have some little lines. And we can change it so this header stands out a bit more than the other ones. So let's make a title. Here in the style tags, we're going to do title. Just like how we did with the main content. So let's add a bit of stuff to make our title a bit cooler. So first we'll do text align, center. So that'll center our title into the center of our box. We're going to add a border, solid 1 pixel, RGB, 200, 200, 200. Add a border radius, 15 pixels, 0 pixels. A background color. So that'll just be the background color of just right around the header. RGB 200, 200, 200. And now that our background color is the same gray color as everything else, we should change the font color. So color, RGB, 50, 50, 80. So let's save that, refresh. Now we have a nice cool little header here. So right now we just have one web page, but a website can consist of many web pages. And so we could create another web page and we can link them to each other, so it'd be more like an actual website. So first let's copy all of the code we have right now. So right click and hit copy after you highlight it. And then you're going to do to file new and paste. And so to make sure we don't get confused which is which, we're going to delete all of this. So from the about my site to the unordered list. So we'll just have that. So now let's save it. File save. And we're going to name this gallery.html. And save it next to the other one. So now we can open that one up. And so we have a lot of what we had before, just looks a bit different. So let's go back to our original site, and we can add a link to our eventual gallery. So underneath our unordered list, we can create an href tag, so that will point to a link. So a href equals gallery.html. Close. You can do check out my pics. And then a closing tag. And for this one you just do /a. You don't have to do the href. So let's save. Refresh. Now we have a link here. But because of our background, it's a bit hard to see. So we can change the link to look a bit nicer. So let's go back up to the style. So underneath title, we can do a colon link. And do the curly braces. So this is going to change the color and the style for the link. So let's do the color. So we'll set RGB 200, 200, 250. And text decoration, none. So save, refresh. And you see on my screen it flashed for a moment, but what that did was it changed the link when it hasn't been clicked. But because I've clicked mine before, it's still purple, but when you refresh it, it shows up for a minute. So let's change it so it always looks like the way it does when you refresh it. So we'll do visited, which is on my screen it's purple right now because I visited it before. So color, actually it's the same as before. So we can just copy here and paste it right here. And make sure that your tabs are all good. So save, refresh. Now it looks a bit better. Alright, and let's change some others. So we can do a hover. So that's when you hover over the link. And it'll also be similar, so we can still paste. But instead of text decoration being none, we can change that to say underline. So that way when you can save it and refresh. And now you see, you can tell when you're hovering over it because an underline comes up. And we can also do active. So A colon active. And same thing as before, so you can just paste. Save, refresh. So there you go. So now let's go to the gallery. And we can add some pictures. And also a link back home. So underneath our header, so you can have your web page up here. So underneath we'll do another header. So we can do H2. Subheader, we can do gallery. And close that tag. And then a href equals, and have it be what you named your other page. So mine is my underscore web page. .html. Close, and you say back home. And /a. So let's save it, see if it shows up. Here you go. And let's change the link so it looks a bit better too. So we can just copy all this and put it back under here. And fix that. Save. And now the links are the same. So if you try clicking on your link, you see you can come back here. Make sure that's working. So now let's add some photos. So let's go underneath the gallery here. And the first thing we'll do is a div tag to center all of our images. So we're going to do div. And then we're going to put a style right within inside the tag. So style equals text dash align colon center. And so this will do CSS styling just on what's inside this tag here. And we don't have to make a separate little class here for it. but it will do the exact same thing. It's just a quick and easy way to add some styling if there's only one thing you need to add. And so let's close this div tag and add our pictures inside of it. So the first thing, we're going to add a main photo. So we're going to use an image tag for that. So that's img. And we're going to give it an ID. And let's name the ID main photo. And we're going to have to say where the image is coming from, so that we're going to use src, which stands for source. And we're going to do another safe tiny URL that I created. So https://tinyurl.com. And we're going to do a moon to match our little sky background. So cs plus dash moon. And we won't look at it yet because it'll be a bit wonky without some extra styling. And let's also add some other photos to our gallery. So I've loaded some bug images. Before we add those though, we're going to add a break tag. So that is !br/closing caret. Oh, here I messed up. So instead of the semicolon at the end, you're doing a /caret. Because this tag can close itself, you don't need a separate closing tag. So here you don't do a semicolon, you do the /caret. And same thing for this break. Basically just add some space within your web page. So it'll separate our main image from the other images in the gallery. Okay, so the other images. We're going to do another image tag, and this time we're going to do a class. The difference between a class and ID, they kind of do the same thing. The only difference is classes are meant for multiple tags, while IDs are meant for only one. So you'll see here we're having multiple thumbnail classes because we have multiple images we want to have with that class. So we're going to do source again. We're going to do the tiny URL, so //tinyurl.com. And this one is going to be cs plus b1. And then the /caret. And so we're going to be doing basically this 2 more times so we can copy it. And let's paste it twice. And instead of B for the second one, we can say butterfly 1. And here it will be ladybug 1. And now we can add the styling to the images so they show up in the right space on our web page. So we'll change this main photo first. So the main photo class. Let's first change to give it a border. So we're going to do border. Give it a solid 3 pixel and color black. And then we'll also give it a margin to give it some space between everything else on the web page, and we'll give it 5 pixels. Underneath main photo, we'll do the thumbnail class, but because it's a class and not an ID, you have to do a period instead of a pound symbol. So we're going to do thumbnail. And for our thumbnail, we can do the width 125 pixels, the border solid 3 pixel and black, and the margin, this time we're going to change it so the sides are a different size than the top and the bottom. So you can do that by just listing 4 values. So 0 pixels, 10 pixels, 0 pixels, 10 pixels. So the sides will be 10 pixels apart, and the top and the bottom won't have any extra margin added. So let's see if that looks good. Okay, so the moon did not load, and that is because this also needs to have a 1 next to it. So make sure these all have 1s at the end of the URLs. And you do not need that So there you go. So no parentheses, just same formatting as everything else. So your images should look like this. You have a nice big main photo and some smaller other ones. To do that, we're going to go to the body, and we can do it at the top here, underneath. And we are going to use a script tag. So that is letting our web page know we are starting to use JavaScript. So within the script tag, we are going to make a function. So you just write out function, and then give it a name. So we can name our swap image because it will be swapping the images to which one is the main photo. And we need to pass in a variable, so we're going to pass in thumbnail, so it knows which image we are changing. We gotta do curly braces again so we know what's inside the function. And so this is a standard of JavaScript and web development in general. So we're gonna call the document just the page we're on by using document dot and then a function that is built in with JavaScript, get element by ID, and we have to pass in which element we're getting, so that would be main photo. And so it's gonna look for an element with the ID main photo, and you see we have one right here. So it's gonna be getting this image tag, and we are going to change the source. So we're gonna do .src equals thumbnail, because this is what the image we passed in is thumbnail, .src. So it'll change the moon image to one of these other images depending on what we pass in. So now we can have it change by clicking on one of these images. So we can add it within this image tag. So after the source, we're going to do a space, and we're going to do on click. So that's when we click on the image. Equals swap image within quotations, this. So that this is saying this image tag is what's getting passed in. Oh, but it doesn't need to be in main photo. Okay, so cut this out. So we're going to take this, right click cut, and we're going to paste one in each of these thumbnails. So just right after the source. And save. And refresh and see if it works. And as you see here, my images are a bit big. So let's resize the main photo. We can do width. Let's set it to 300 to be a bit bigger than the others. Save. There we go. So now they're all nice, good size. Alright, so let's make sure everything's working. Here's your gallery. And here's the main site. If you click the link, you should be able to switch between them. And so that's the end of the tech camp. And a source I have for you is you can go to w3schools.com. And there's a bunch of references for doing HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It's pretty simple. It has a lot of different tags you can do. Like we did image, we did breaks, we did divs, headings, and it has all kinds that you can learn on here. So go ahead and play around with your website, see if you can make it more unique, make it your own, if you can add any cool things to it. Another thing I'd suggest is changing with these values, seeing how the reds and the greens change, how the border radius changes when you change these values, just to make sure you understand everything. So I hope you enjoyed playing around with your website, and thank you for watching.